This book is making over $10,000 a day, and that's probably a bit of an underestimate. But with the resources I'm going to show you in a moment online, you should be able to create one of these in literally a day, probably even less. So what's this book I'm talking about? Well, it's the blank comic book, and this is in the blank comic book niche. And what are they? Well, they're books where kids and adults can go and draw and create their own comic books, and they're extremely popular. And if we go over to Google Trends, we can see that the search, the interest over time is pretty consistent. If you stand back, there's probably a little bit of an increase over the last year or two, but it's good because it means that this book is a consistent seller. There's not much of a real big sort of seasonal trend that goes up and down. Now, if we go over to Amazon and put in the keyword blank comic book, we can see here that there's approximately 1,900 searches per month on Google. Now on Amazon, this is probably higher because Amazon is obviously a marketplace and people that are looking for these have more of a buyer intent. So the searches on Amazon I would expect to be greater. Now, where do I get that figure from? Well, I've got a plugin installed, a Chrome plugin called Keywords Everywhere that gives us this information. But to get that information, you do need to spend $10 on credits to get that. But it's very useful, and I'll show you in a bit why. Now, if we look down what comes up in the searches, first of all, we've got 4,000 results, so it is a very competitive keyword. It means that if you were to target this particular keyword, you'd be competing with at least 4,000 other people. Now, you will notice that I'm searching in the all category and not the books category, and there's a good reason for that. Mainly it's where customers are searching, but I have done a video on this which I'll leave a link to above if you want to learn more about that. So if we go down and have a look at these books, now when I'm looking at a market, I look for at least 3 books on the first page, ideally in the top 10, with bestsellers ranks of 300,000 or less. That means there's a market for this book and there's a good chance of making sales. But look at this niche. This is even better than 300,000. This book here's got a bestsellers rank of 220. This one here of 211. These are really low bestsellers ranks, which means all these books are selling well. But yes, I know it is a competitive market, and we will come on to the keywords to try and overcome that particular hurdle. So let's have a look in terms of sales. So if we take this book here, which has got a bestsellers rank of 211, and let's put it into an Amazon book sales calculator, it comes out of with 6,185 sales per month. Now, I know from my books this is an underestimate. It'll actually be selling probably many more than this, but let's take this figure. Now, it's selling for $6.49 and has a page count of 108. So on Tangent Templates, I put it into the pricing calculator, which means this book is making approximately $1.74. That's pure profit. That's the royalties that goes to the publisher. So if we times that by the number of sales per month, we come out with approximately $10,761 a month in pure profit this one book is making, which I think you'll agree is pretty good. And take into the fact that it doesn't take long to create one of these books. You're not spending weeks, months at a typewriter typing out 30,000, 60,000 words. You can literally create one of these in a day. If you're more proficient, you could probably do one in an hour or two, seriously. Let's have a look at another keyword that I discovered, which looks a bit more favourable, and this is comic book template. Now, this has got Google search of 6,600 a month, so it's a bit more popular on Google, but the search results here are less than 1,000. It's 989, and that's the other criteria I look for. Not just 3 books with bestsellers ranks of less than 300,000, but with search results on Amazon of less than 1,000, because it means there's a good chance of getting our books ranked. But let's see what comes up when we put in that search term. Again, we've got all these bestsellers with lots of reviews. So one of the objections would be, Paul, how on earth am I going to rank when you've got all these books here with low bestsellers ranks, with sales history, and with large numbers of reviews? Well, yes, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy, but with the right keywords, which we'll come to later, there's a good chance that you could get your book ranked. Maybe not get your bestsellers ranked down to 211 or 220, which might mean running ads, but you could certainly get it down to a level that would bring in good sales. But just have a look for a moment at the books that get listed for this particular keyword. If we just look here at the titles, which is where the main sort of strength of a keyword comes from, not one of these is actually ranked for this particular keyword. So they're not optimized for that keyword. So there is a chance if you were to produce a book that's optimized for a less competitive keyword, you could outrank some of these better selling books. Not a guarantee, it's not a promise, but there's a good chance. And I think for the time it takes to create one of these and the potential money, for me, it's worth it. And I hope you guys also see that potential as well. So let's go on to now creating one of these. So you want the interiors and you want some graphics for the cover. Now you could go across to somewhere like Fiverr and put in comic book cover and choose an artist that could create one of these covers. I actually went and did a search for comic book interior, and there are artists here that will create the interiors for you and would probably also do a good cover for you. But you know, you'd have to pay money for that. And it looks like here you could pay anywhere between $3 or £3.92, which I think is about $5, up to about £11.77, which I think is probably around about $13 to get that done. Now I have an account with Tangent Templates, and I think, yes, here we are, there's some comic book interiors here. Now one of my favorite resources is Creative Fabrica. They become very popular with people creating KDP books because you can get the assets for the cover, that's the graphics. They also sell KDP interiors, and you can also get good fonts there as well to make your book stand out. So let's have a look at Creative Fabrica, and I just put in KDP comic books, and we get all these results coming up here. And this is people that are selling the graphics for the covers and also the interiors. Now this one stood out for me, and it's $5, and you can buy this outright for $5. If you need the print on demand license, you can get that for $6.50, and these will download as SVGs, Adobe Illustrator, JPEGs, so you can use these on all different types of software. So you could use them on free software like Inkscape, Graphic Designer, which are vector design software. You could just drag and drop these into Canva if you're using something like that, or even Photoshop. And another alternative is with things like the JPEGs, you could just drag and drop them into something like Keynote or PowerPoint to create your whole interior of 108 pages or 120 pages, whatever you decide. So let's have a look if there's some graphics. I'm going to download that interior and we're going to look at some graphics, and here's some that look pretty good. Again, $5. We'll see what the print on demand license is. Again, $6.50. So for $13 you could get the graphics and the interiors with the full print on demand license, which I think is a pretty good investment. You can create these from scratch yourself, you know, if you're proficient with Photoshop or Illustrator, or as I said, Graphic Designer, Inkscape, you could create these yourself. So let's go ahead and download these. Now I'll leave the link to Creative Fabrica down below. If you're going to use this to buy lots of different graphics, create different books, then it's also worthwhile looking at the subscription packages as well. I subscribe to this, and it allows you to, you know, download unlimited amounts of their resources, again, which is the fonts, graphics, interiors, which is pretty good if you're planning on doing this as a, you know, full-time business. So I'm using Illustrator today, and I've downloaded the interiors and I've downloaded the graphic. So in order to create the page, this is going to be an 8.5 by 11 book. So there's going to be no bleed. So this is a page of 8.5 by 11 inches. And what you can do is just take one of these, drag a bounding box around it, copy it, and then literally just paste it into place. And using Shift and Alt, we can just shrink that down. Now you will need to take into account the margin sizes. I mean, I've just done this here, which looks about right in terms of the margin sizes. If you wanted to be a bit more accurate about it, again, I've done a video on that. I'll leave the link above. Now, you could leave it like that. I've noticed some blank comic books do have speech bubbles in, some don't. If you don't want the speech bubbles, then it's just a case of deleting all these little graphical elements like so. Again, that's just very quick, just an example to show you. And so normally with the blank comic books, each page is different. You might have sort of half a dozen different types of pages, and what I mean by different is the way the boxes are arranged, and you could repeat those 6 pages throughout the book, so it just gives that variation for kids and adults to fill in. Now when we come to the cover, we're going to have this blank file that you're going to open, this blank page, and the size for this will be 17.52 inches by 11.25 inches. If you want to work out the size, go to bookout.com and you can put in the details there and it will tell you what size your template should be. Now what I'm just going to do is quickly draw a box, colour it black and put that in the centre. So here we've got our front cover page. So now I'm just going to paste that template that we just used for the interior. Now again, if you download that template from bookout.com, it will give you the boundaries in which all your graphics should be, so that you don't lose them when the book is trimmed. So let's add a bit of colour. So we just literally go to this box here, click on fill, and let's colour that green. Do this one, it's that blue, this one yellow, and this one red. So these books are, about fun. You want them to stand out on the page, so we're going to use a lot of bright colours. Now I've locked these particular layers so that they don't move when we're making our changes. And I want to get rid of this here. And for this here, I want to just mirror it. So I go to Object, Transform, Reflect. Okay. And we can just drag that over a bit. Now I want to drag some graphics over into this cover. So we'll go to our graphics that we downloaded and we'll choose this POW first of all. So just put a bounding box around it, copy, go to our cover and paste. And we're going to move this down here. Holding down Shift and Alt, just going to reduce the size, rotate it slightly like so, and we don't need to delete the background, that just adds a little bit more extra detail. Let's pick another one. Let's go for whack, copy, paste, just shrink that down. I think we're going to move that up to there. Again, just rotate slightly, enlarge slightly. Doesn't matter if you go over the border of the box. And let's have one more. Quite like this boom, so let's copy that, paste, and we're going to put that over here. Again, Shift Alt, just reduce that in size. Now you'll notice this is happening here. Ignore it. I think it's related to the fact that I've just bought a new Apple Mac Mini M1, and I think there might be issues currently with some software running the Apple Silicon. So don't worry about that. It will rectify itself as we work along. So now we want some text. So we're going to just write comic, okay, and choose the font. And the font we're going to use for this is Chelsea Market Pro. So I'm just going to enlarge that slightly. Now, holding down Alt, I'm just going to drag up and drag down, highlight, type in blank, type in book, and then just drag these sort of into place. And there we have it. I think you'll agree that looks pretty good, and it's only taken quickly just 5 minutes or so to create. So you could add in a bit of extra text, different font if you like, but you get the idea. And already that's something that's colourful, stands out, and may attract customers, which is the plan. So we've covered things like conversion, because when you're making sales of books, you've got to think of traffic plus conversions. Now, conversions is mainly the cover and the interior. They're the main factors that will get that conversion. It's what customers will look at. So now we want the traffic. And as we said, in order to get traffic, you need to be ranking well on Amazon. Ideally on the first page, the higher the better. But the competition is pretty strong. So what we need to do is find words that customers are searching for that have less competition. So these are the keywords, and the keywords will normally go into the title and the subtitle. And this is how I find them. I will go and put in a word like blank comic book as we've done here, and we will get these suggestions. Now there's 2 important factors for these words. 1, Amazon is telling us what people are searching for, and 2, these are suggestions that Amazon's also given to customers, and customers tend to click on these, so these words are valuable. Now I do have another plugin here called AMZ Suggestion Expander, and it gives us these extra keywords that people are also searching for on Amazon. Then what I would normally do is create a spreadsheet and write a list of all these words down, and as you can see here, we've got these numbers in grey, which is from that Keywords Everywhere plugin, which is the number of searches per month on Google. So I'll make a note of those Google searches as well where available. And then what I'll do is then take each of these keywords on the spreadsheet. I will go and put them into the Amazon search bar. So for example, say we chose blank comic book for kids. I would then make a note of these search results. That's the all important number there. And I'm looking for search results of less than 1,000. Then what you get is a list like this of all the different keywords and their Amazon search numbers. And as I said, where available, Google searches. And you can then work down the list and look at those keywords that are less competitive, but that people are still searching for on Amazon. Now, if they do have a bit of Google search as well, that's just a little bit more strength for the keywords. Now, if you were thinking of running ads, you can go for the more competitive keywords. And what I mean by more competitive? Those that have more than 1,000 search results on Amazon. But what I would suggest is going for the lower ones, lower competition keywords, and using that in your main title, putting a couple of other keywords in your subtitle, and then using other keywords in your 7 keyword boxes. So I've done all the work and found 97 different keywords. Some that are got high competition, but a lot there that have got low competition and have some of that Google search strength as well. As I showed you earlier, I think it was the comic book template keyword, which was the one that, you know, looked particularly good, but there's quite a few in here. Now the good news is I've done all the hard work and I've uploaded these to my Gumroad shop, along with lots of other keywords that I've also got for sale here. Now, as there's quite a lot of keywords there, and this did take me a few hours to do, I'm going to put this up for sale for $1. So if you think that $1 is worth a few hours of your time, then, you know, go ahead, purchase them from the Gumroad shop. Or if not, you can do this yourself for free using the method that I've just shown you. So that's there. And that's also if you want to try going into this niche, you don't have to. So there we go. That's a niche that's selling extremely well. Yes, some keywords do have a lot of competition, but it doesn't take a huge amount of time to create one of these books. So if you were to say to yourself, okay, may only take a few hours, a day, 2 days maximum to create one of these, but has the potential to sell really well, then is that worth your time spending doing it? For me, the answer is yes, but for you, maybe no. So there we go. I hope you found that useful. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down, but make sure you do hit the subscribe button, smash that notification bell, and until next time, goodbye.